Great forests of new buildings are springing up around Beijing and all over China. Spurred by double-digit economic growth and a huge migration of people from rural areas into China's booming cities, a building frenzy is transforming the country. Half of the world's construction is happening today in China, the impact of which can be felt environmentally and economically from Beijing to Boston.
In China, it's easier to talk about building than architecture, in part because there's so much building going on and the whole country feels like a work in progress. But also because not a lot of what is being built rises to the level of what we in the West would call architecture, buildings that are thoughtful throughout their aesthetic, intellectual, and physical elements.
If you nominated one building as perhaps the most typical in China today, you might choose these bland cookie-cutter apartment blocks. But even more common and essential to the building boom are these blue and white sheds. They are often used for workers' housing, and they can be found on the periphery of almost every construction site in China. They are the purest architectural expression of the promise and the looming wealth gap in China. The gap between those who can afford a place in the sky and those who will build them one. The worker sheds couldn't be more different than the monumental blue-chip projects that are stunning the world with their audacity. This is the new home for China Central Television, the state media network. Designed by Rem Koolhaas and Oli Sharon, the CCTV tower is a domineering, endless loop of a building with a prominent, exhilarating overhang suspended above Beijing's central business district. The architects hope it will help transform the state media giant into a modern, free-flowing, non-hierarchical culture. The huge overhang is a perfect authoritarian gesture. We can defy gravity, it seems to say, which is another way of saying our power is limitless. This building, which houses the Ministry of Transport, doesn't invite you to have an opinion. It is slick, balanced, it pays homage to traditional Chinese shapes, and it is utterly meaningless. This is the vernacular of state architecture: squat, massive, bland, and silent. Where the CCTV tower looms over the city with iconic form, the ministry building sits on an enormously wide axis through the center of the city, with all the individuality of a soldier standing at attention. The building hidden behind this colorful facade is a very expensive entertainment center with restaurants patronized by the Chinese elite. It has been covered with a solar-powered media wall that will one day showcase video art. But at the moment, there is no video. Designer Simona Giostra says the government has yet to approve it. Even without video, many threads of Chinese design come through here. A fashionable interest in green projects, the glaring colors of Beijing's nightlife, the nervous government reaction to any uncontrolled message, the conspicuous consumption of the Chinese elite. Like so many things in China, it is a mass of meaningful contradictions. Paul Andrew's titanium-clad egg isn't as ambitious as the CCTV tower or as flashy as the media wall, but it may be more controversial, at least in China. Public opinion hasn't blessed this building, which sits in a huge pool of water near Tiananmen Square. It houses the National Theater, so it makes sense that it sits very near the symbolic heart of Beijing. But it is too wildly out of context for the historic buildings nearby, and its most poetic feature, the water that surrounds it, also emphasizes its isolation.
It is impossible to understand Chinese architecture through any one or any 5 buildings. There's simply too much destruction and creation going on all at once. There are efforts in China to preserve old neighborhoods, such as this one, a hutong. There are efforts to build environmentally sustainable buildings as well. And yet millions of people are being moved around by forces beyond their control. And even if you ask Chinese architects, where is all this going? They'll shrug their shoulders and say they don't know. All they can do is keep doing what they know how to do, and that is to make buildings.